cornerstone of quality taxidermy work is quality supplies. The quality of the finished piece will only be as good as the quality of the supplies that you use will allow. There is one taxidermy supply company that follows this philosophy, Wildlife Artist Supply Company. Wasco is committed to offering the taxidermy industry only the finest, highest quality, most innovative and effective tools, supplies, and equipment. From comprehensive instructional and reference materials, anatomically accurate mannequins, glass eyes, and accessories, state-of-the-art paint systems and tanning systems, dependable tools, supplies, and equipment, to wood panels, exhibit bases, and habitat materials. You can be assured that if it comes from Wasco, it is based on the most up-to-date technology available to today's wildlife artists. Please give us a call. Our trained sales staff will be happy to assist you with placing your order or in furnishing you with a catalog. Simply call toll-free 1-800-334-8012. In Georgia, 1-800-822-2392. Our team of world champion sculptors and researchers maintain a level of quality and innovation to our products that no one else can match. We are constantly improving and expanding our product line to stay one step ahead of our customers' needs. When you place your order with Wildlife Artist Supply, you set into motion a sophisticated process in which your order is pulled, checked by computer, carefully packaged, and shipped, all within 24 hours. If you are traveling through Georgia, visit our showroom and bargain counter, where you can receive up to 20% off on selected items. For innovative, state-of-the-art products to make your work easier and more satisfying, look to the leaders in the taxidermy industry, Wildlife Artist Supply Company.
Morning, my name's Calvin Farner. I'm from Morrison, Colorado, here at the Breakthrough Studios. This morning we're going to go through the steps on mounting a mule deer. Before we get into setting the horns and proceeding with the mount, what I'd like to do is go over a little bit of cape preparation. This is a commercially tanned cape. What I'm going to do is just go over some of the steps on the eyes, preparing the nose, preparing the ears for mounting. Okay, the method I use for mule deer is I'll go ahead and use ear liners. So we remove the cartilages from each ear, making sure that prior to removing the cartilage that your ear was completely turned to the leading edge, all the way out. It's very important to get those ears completely turned to the leading edge before you remove your cartilage. I will pare down the excess leather and thickness around the tear duct and around each eye. It's very important as you pare the eye down that you split the eyelids in this fashion. That you split them to the edge of the epidermis. And what I like to do is I like to leave 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch of inside tucking leather. I don't trim it flush with the epidermis. I'll leave 1/4 of an inch around the entire eye. This, what this does is after you've modeled your eye, set your eye, and you've placed your skin on your mannequin, when you come back to model in your eye, you can tuck this between the glass and the clay all the way around the entire circumference of your eye, and that'll help to hold everything into place. Okay, for the nose area, we've removed all the excess hide and cartilage from around the nose, getting it very, very thin. We want to get it very thin here, so we don't have a lot of shrinkage. After it's mounted. Okay, this cape, this particular specimen, the inside of the nostrils will cut fairly short. Preferably, I like to leave a little bit more on the inside edge exposed. This is cut just below the hairline, which is okay. We can still achieve what we want to achieve by this, but it's better to leave a little bit of excess. Okay, after the nose is all pared down, fleshed in a uniform manner all the way around the nostrils, through the center, you'll proceed to your lips. Most of your lips will be in this fashion. After tanning, you'll want to split your lip to the leading edge where the hair meets the gum. You want to split that all the way around. On a closed mouth, I'll leave a good 1/2 of an inch to tuck into my mannequin. On an open mouth, you're going to have to leave a little bit more. This is the way it looks, following the mouth all the way around from the nose to the chin. The chin you want to split all the way through and to the edge of the bulb. And that's the way it should look prior to mounting with a commercially tanned skin. Okay, now after the cape has been prepped, the ears have been peeled, what we'll do is we've set our horns just temporarily onto our mannequin. I've placed a screw here and a screw here. Then I'm going to go ahead and tip my mannequin back for a test fitting. I'll tip my mannequin back somewhat and go ahead and lower it. What I'm doing here is, before I secure the horns on for good, I want to make sure that my cape is lining up to the horn. Okay, we let our we let our eye skin fall into our eye socket, and without having to pull this up unnaturally, we don't want to just torque it up into place. We want to just let it fall into place and see where it lies. Okay, where we're sitting here, we're sitting about 1/4 to 5/8 inch from the actual burr. The leather is only resting in this place here. So what I want to do is come back. I've made the mark here where our leather rested, and I want to take that amount off of the skull plate to move my horns forward so that my leather actually reaches all the way to the burr and I don't have to pull it and force it into position. That way we'll pull all of our eye fitting off, up and back. Okay, so at this time we'll remove the horns and cut that section out and then reattach the horns for our second test fitting. Okay, we've removed the section that we had indicated before. Now we're ready for our second test fitting. So what we want to do is swing our mannequin, rotate it up, drop it on our easel, line our nose up, make sure we're centered. Okay, let the eye fall into place. The leather falls right up next to the burr. That's the type of fit we're looking for. We don't want to have our eye pinned into place and have to drag the leather up to the burr. It just falls right into place. Okay, I'm satisfied with the test fit I have, that our horns are far enough forward and they're not too low and they're not too high. So at this time, I'll level my mannequin out. I'll raise it into a little bit higher position. Another thing to be aware of is when you set your horns on, I've set them with 3 screws. You want to also swing around to the front and make sure that your mannequin is level on your easel and the top of your skull plate is level with your mannequin. What you're checking here is your symmetry. So this will allow you to double check that your horns aren't set at an angle, any way like that. Then you want to step back and take an overall look at them. I usually level the top of my skull plate. The bottom of the burrs are a bad gauge. A lot of times in nature, they're not level. So I'll just use the top of my skull plate. Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and mix up my resin and my chopped glass so I can apply this and let it harden while I go to my next step. Okay, I'll just add a little bit of chopped glass. This is a pretty small area, so we don't need too much. That's the chop I use. I mix my resin and my catalyst first before I add the chopped glass. Okay, we'll mix this fairly hot so we don't have to wait on it. We'll go ahead and blend this thoroughly. Whip it up so we have a good constant blend. And then at this time I'll add small amounts of chopped glass until the consistency isn't real runny. Also, a small trick that I use here is I'll add a small quantity of Sally Dave's hide paste, or mache, excuse me. A little bit of mache in here will absorb some of the resin. It'll keep it from running down the side of your form. Okay, this is the consistency that we're looking for. It's thick in body, not real runny. So as you apply it to your horn and to your mannequin, your skull plate and your mannequin, it'll stay in place. Okay, at this time, we can go ahead and build it up with glass. I'll go ahead and turn this to the side somewhat. What I like to do in the brain cavity, in this area here, I like to go ahead and take a large amount, let it flow down towards the front of the mannequin. Fill this void up. This also intercepts your screws and will lock your screws into place also. I like to glass all my skull plates onto my mannequins. The customer will usually grab the horns to carry his mount. I like to make sure this is very secure. Okay, then go ahead and follow the skull plate around, applying a good even layer of glass. That mache really helps the body of it. Keep it from running all down your mannequin. If it does start to run down your mannequin, don't worry about it. Let it harden, chip it off. Okay, I'll go ahead and rotate this towards the front and apply a little bit of glass. On this leading edge of the form. Okay, before I glass the other half, there's one note that I want to make while it's still visible. Okay, I'll go ahead and spin this. Okay, the center of the skull plate should flow into the mannequin. Okay, if you have an offset, if the skull plate, if your horns are set too far down, you'll have a big notch here. If the horns are rotated too far back, you'll have an uprise. You want this center of the skull to flow right into the mannequin. If you use this particular mannequin, this Wasco mule deer, if you just follow this line into your skull plate, it assures you of a proper set on your horns. They're not rotated too far forward or rotated too far backwards, the tips. Okay? we'll go ahead and finish glassing. Coming back to this side. When this glass hardens, that will assure me that this is a permanent bond, that there'll be no problems down the road. Okay, that's the glassing system I use. We'll allow this time to dry and then proceed to our next step. While we're allowing our resin to dry, I'll jump down here and go ahead and set my ears. Okay, we've removed our cartilage. I'll go ahead and turn my ear right side out again. Go ahead and take your cartilage, lay it on your ear liner. Okay, that's a pretty accurate fit, pretty close fit. We'll want to go ahead and trim it down somewhat. So I'll go ahead and mark it out using the cartilage as my reference. Continue all the way around the entire ear. Okay, on these particular ear liners, I'll cut halfway through the ear butt because we'll model our own ear butt in. Okay, your ear liner should look something like this, fully traced out. Come back, follow your line. Cut the ear butt off, halfway through. Okay, and at this time we're ready to test fit our ear liner into our skin. Just go ahead and slide it in. We want to test fit it to make sure that it's going to fit. Work the skin down to the tip of the ear, holding the tip. You can slide the remaining skin into place. Something like that. Okay, the tip is in place where it should be. I'll line the leading edges of the ear up to the leading edge of the ear liner. Okay, now what we have over here it's calling that it's the ear liner is still a little bit too large. We want this skin to be relaxed onto the ear liner. Okay, this ear liner is still slightly oversized, so it's causing a drumming effect. Okay, I make a mental note of this by observing the fit I have in there now, starting about an inch away from the tip of the ear. It starts out at about 1/4 of an inch too large, goes to about 3/8 of an inch, all the way through. So I'll remove my liner. And starting about an inch from the tip, start removing about 1/8, going down to about 3/8, down to about 1/2 of an inch down towards the butt. Okay. Go ahead and reverse our ear back and test fit the second time. Placing the skin to the tip of the liner, pulling the tip, your ear flows into place. Okay, now it's rolling. The leading edge is rolling into position. The center of our ear is relaxed and down onto the liner itself. We don't want we want it to just flow down against the liner. We don't want it taut or drummed across. We can staple this down, but if it's indicating drumming right now, you can be guaranteed that after this air completely dries, it's going to drum quite a bit. Okay, that's the fit that we're looking for. The leading edge of the ear liner is all the way up to the leading edge of the ear itself. Everything's falling right into place. Okay, I'm satisfied with this test fit. I'll proceed to mix my epoxy. The epoxy I use for this is the Wasco New Glue. It's a 2-part epoxy, component A, component B. We'll go ahead and mix a small amount together. Equal amounts of each. Blend the two thoroughly. Go ahead and remove our ear liner. Apply a liberal amount on the inside. I stop about 1 inch from the butt itself. Nice, uniform coat. All the way up to the tip. Same procedure on the back side. Nice, even, liberal coat. Okay, at this time, we're ready to insert our ear liner back into our ear. Slide it in somewhat. Work it down to the tip again. Hold our tip. Pull our entire ear into place. Work your leading edge, your outer edges first, placing them into place. Roll it. Roll it. Don't try and pull. You'll pull out here. Just roll it. Again, grab the tip. Pull downward. That tip of the ear liner is a snug fit all the way to the tip of the ear itself. Come back through with your finger and line it out. Work your glue from the center of the ear towards the tip, towards the edges and the tip. Open your ear up. Hold this skin down and into place towards the butt of the ear. Take your index finger and rub out any wrinkling. Okay, for a further step, we will card, staple, and card our ears. I don't do that at this time. I do that once the mount is together and completely sewn up. I'll address that at that time. Okay, we have our ear skin into place over the ear liner. It's glued. And we'll let the glue set and come back and model in our ear butt. While we let our ears completely set up, we'll come back and mix up some mache. So we can go directly to macheing the skull and allow it to dry, and then come back to making the ear butts on our ears. The system I'm outlining for you is a continuous motion. What this will do is it'll speed up your mounts. You don't, what we're trying to alleviate is like mixing up our glass and standing here waiting for it to dry. What we want to do is mix our glass our horns, go to our ears, finish our ears, come back, mache the head. While the mache is drying, we're modeling in our ear butts. This is a complete system. If you follow this system, not only will you achieve the accuracy you need, but you'll also achieve some speed. Okay? I'll mix up a little bit of Sally Dame's mache. Adding a little mache and a little bit of water. Go ahead and stir that up. We want to keep it fairly thick. Then we'll go ahead and fill in our void. along the skull. Continue around to the back. Go ahead and rough it in with your stir stick. We'll come back and smooth it with a paintbrush. Let me turn this a little bit so you can see the back side. I'll drop it a little bit also. Put it in that position so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Blend it right up to the skull plate. Okay, now we'll spin it side view. What we want to do is come off the skull plate, keeping that line. We don't want to drop it too quick. What we're doing is building up the back of his skull. Then we'll get a little water with the paintbrush. Flow that together, smoothing it out. Continue this around the entire skull. It's important also, I'll swing this towards you, to fill this void in. We want to create somewhat of a straight line from the inside of the burr down to the form. We can build this up additionally with clay when we get ready to mount, but I try and fill the bulk of it with the mache first. Rough it in, come back, smooth it in with your paintbrush. And then we can allow that to dry while we go to our earbuds. Okay, now while we're waiting for our mache to dry, we'll come in with some ear base. This is Sally Dame's ear base. I've already mixed it up. Put it in this plastic container to keep it moist. What we'll do is we'll sculpt in our earbuds. Okay, the first thing I do is roll the hide off of the ear liner about 1 inch. I'll take a small finger of clay or ear base and run it around the ear liner. starting at the corner of the ear on the inside around to the other edge of the ear. Okay, then what you want to do is you want to feather that back on the ear liner. Place 2 fingers over your modeling and your ear liner and push it back through. Okay, what that has done is that's put enough material in there so we won't have a void where the ear liner stops and the ear butt starts. Okay, next, working off of a cast of an ear butt, I'll go ahead and start my frontal bulb of the ear butt itself, this muscle right here. I'll place that amount in, keeping my fingers on either side of my modeling on the skin itself. That way I can feel the depth I'm packing it and the width. Something like that. This is the muscle area that I'm establishing right now. Then I'll reverse it. Take another small amount and come to the upside of the ear, the back side, keeping my fingers as a gauge. And placing it right in through here to establish this muscle here on the ear butt. Take another small amount and I'll build the inside. I'll fill this area in on the inside of the ear, the side that is going to be tilted forward towards the eye. This region here, illustrated by this ear butt cast. Something like this. This is not nice and full and meaty. Then I'll take the entire ear, holding it in my hand, right in here. Roll that hide back a little bit. And come around with another application around the entire ear butt. That's for mass. We established our 3 muscle groups. Now we're filling in the mass. Okay, at this time, turn your ear up. Lay it flat on your table. What we can do is brush it. Sticking our finger down the ear opening to clear that passageway out. Okay, I'm satisfied with that amount of clay. One thing I would like to caution you about is do not overfill these. I would rather slightly underfill my ear butt prior to putting the skin on than overfilling it. If it's a little weak, we can always take a little additional and put it right down the cavity and fill it out that way. Okay, prior to mounting, that's what I do. So we'll go ahead and move to the next ear, get its butt sculpted in, and check for symmetry. Make sure when you get the other one sculpted, you lay it on the table also flat and check it to this one. And then we'll proceed to our mannequin preparation. Okay, I've I've finished both ear butts. I've laid them flat. Judge the symmetry to be the same in both width and length. So now we'll move on to our mannequin. The mache has completely hardened. We'll go ahead and prep our mannequin, get it ready for mounting. What I'll do is I'll take a small piece of sandpaper, sand my flanges off if there's any showing. Wipe any of the dust and debris off. We'll go ahead and apply a primer. What I use for this is fin backing. Taking small applications on my finger and just rubbing a thin, uniform coat over the entire mannequin. Okay, what I'll do is the neck and the shoulder area first. While that's drying, I'll go ahead and work on my face, cutting the lip line out, the nostrils, and the tear ducts. A couple things I'd like to point out to you. Apply a good coat in the throat area. This is a natural drum area. Also apply a good coat in the brisket area. This is a natural drumming area in this brisket. We're going to allow this to dry for about 20 minutes while we work on our face. Okay, I like to go ahead and cut my tear ducts out to have ample tucking room. Follow the mannequin. Okay, I'll just cut that shell off. I'll take my lip tucker and go ahead and slide it on in. And that gives me the flexibility of tucking all that tear duct leather inside where it belongs. Okay, I'll cut my lip line same way, except just with one uniform cut, following the form. Okay, after you've made your cut, you'll want to go ahead and drive your lip tucker up. What this does is it enables, you know that when you go to tuck your lips, you're going to be able to drive that in. I recommend you do this prior to trying to tuck your lips, because if you've got a bad spot where you're having to apply too much pressure with this tool, you'll tear through your lip. At the corner, avoid this so you don't pop your mannequin. Just drive it straight in, rock it just a little bit from side to side, open it up just a little, and follow that all the way around your lip. Next, I like to burrow out my nose a little bit so we can establish a deep nostril. Okay, I'll slightly spin this towards you so I can continue to do the other side. Line out my tear duct. Go ahead and remove a little bit of the shell. Drive my lip tucker in. Plenty deep. Come back through. Follow my lip. To the corner of the mouth. And drive my lip tucker along this line. Okay, we'll get that other nostril. Just deepen it a little bit. Remove all the foam. Okay, at this point in time we've got all those areas squared away. I'll apply a coat of fin backing to the head, and we'll let that set up before we model in the eyes. Okay, our fin backing has dried on the face. Now we'll go ahead and set the eyes. On our Wasco mannequins, the eyes are pre-sculpted at a 45-degree angle with an 11-degree pitch down. Okay, this enables you to quick set the eye. You don't have to gauge it or anything. All you have to do is apply a little bit of clay on the inside of the eye and submit it into place. Before I set my eyes, what I do is I'll feather my eyelid. With a piece of sandpaper, I'll feather it down just a little bit. Okay, at this time we're ready to go ahead and set both eyes. We'll take a small amount of clay, flush it up to the edge of the glass, go ahead and then set it into place. What we want to do is keep the pupil parallel with the ground. This particular mannequin is mannequin number 262, and it's sculpted to take a 220 eye. The eye I'm using today is a Tohican 220. Pre-sculpted to fit it, pre-sculpted at all the angles. We'll go ahead and set the other eye. Using the same method. Pack the clay in to the back side of the eye. Flush. Place it in. Keep the pupil parallel with the ground. From the front, I'll take a front-on view, looking through both eyes with a bubble level. Okay? I'll go right through the center of the pupil to make sure that they're both level. Okay, when that reads level, we're ready to do our fill work. Taking a small finger roll of clay, we'll fill this bottom void. Feather it in with water. I use a small artist paintbrush to come back and establish that line. That's the bottom orbit. To reestablish our eyelid, same principle, small roll of clay, feather tip it. I'll put that tip in the corner of the eye, following the contour of the glass eye and the mannequin. Smooth it into place with some water. And come back with your brush. And do your final modeling. When we feathered this eyelid off on the form, we feathered it down so we wouldn't have any steps in between here. So it would flow from this point to the glass in a nice uniform manner. Okay, at the inside corner of the pupil will be our high point. From that high point, we carry the line slightly parallel with the ground, tapering back towards the back corner of the eye. Add a little fill back here. Continue to model with your brush. We'll drop in front. See what the front shape looks like. What I like to do also is run a small finger roll around my tear duct. So as I put my tear duct into position, tuck my inner tear duct leather, I can squeeze the clay together to pinch my tear duct shut. Put a little water on your finger and blend that. Leave that opening accessible. Then, like I stated before, after we tuck our leather into the tear duct, we can pinch on both sides of the tear duct. We can pinch it shut. Okay, then we'll jump up to the burr around the antler. On the outside edge, we'll run a little clay. Feathering it downward. To establish some of the meat that was removed. Up in this area here, I don't add any clay. I do not fill. What we want to do is keep this line fairly straight. We don't want it to dish in. Underneath the burr, between the burr and the zygomatic arch, we need to keep it full. That's a fleshy area on the animal. We need to rebuild that and keep it full. We'll model the inside of our nostril. We've removed some of the form to give us some depth. We'll place a small amount of clay in there. Blend it in with some water on our brush. Feather it to the edges. Okay, I'll roll this mannequin to the side so we can get a side look at what's going on. Okay, that's our nose work, inner nose, tear duct, eye area. I like to put just a little bit of clay on the back corner of the mouth. As I tuck the lip, I can smooth out any wrinkling that wants to take place in this area with this clay underneath. On this particular form, it was sculpted with a full bulb behind the lip, but I like to add just a little bit of clay just to soften this area. Makes my tucking of my lip a lot easier, because when I get to this point here, I can smooth out any wrinkling. For this mannequin, this is all you need to do for your modeling. Do 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. 4 small steps and you're ready to mount. Okay, we've finished modeling both sides of the head, the eye, tear duct, corner of the mouth, and the nose area. Our last thing we need to check before we apply hide paste, with a measure right is our opening of our eye. Come across to the other side. And that indicates they're both open the same amount. Okay, now we'll go ahead and apply some hide paste. We'll tip the form back on the easel. We'll tilt it back slightly. The hide paste I use for this particular mount will be Sally Dame's hide paste. I've pre-mixed it into a thick consistency. I'll go ahead and apply a uniform coat all the way through the mannequin. Okay, we've applied our hide paste over the entire mannequin. At this time, we'll tilt the mannequin back on our easel. In this position, we'll go ahead and lower our easel, and we're ready to apply our hide. What I like to do on applying the hide is allow the hide paste to dry for 2 or 3 minutes before I apply the hide. That way, if you drag it across a little bit, it won't bind up in the hair. So we'll go ahead and let it set for 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, while it starts to get a little tacky. Okay, I'll take my cape. I've set my form back a little bit to make the application in the back of the cape a little smoother. I'll go ahead and insert the nose, lining it up. I'll take my center strap and one ear, slide it up into place. At this time, I'll place a nail, a temporary nail, in the middle of the center strap. I'll place another nail on the point that comes around the burr of the horn, driving this nail into the skull, just slightly, it's just temporary. I'll do the same thing on the other side. We can readjust this a little bit later. This is just to hold it roughly into place. Okay, I'll come back, start adjusting my nose. I like to adjust my nose and my nostril shape before I tuck my lips. With a modeling tool, start modeling in your nose, just roughing it in at this time. What I'll do also is I'll put a couple pins, temporary pins, in the corner of the nostrils, just to hold that hide into place. I'll swing this slightly, align the eye by pulling in both directions and adjusting the hide below and above the eye. I'll do the same with the tear duct to line it up. The skin that we left when we prepped this cape, I'll gather it and come back and tuck it in between our modeling and the glass. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just roughing everything into place. Then you can take your finger, slightly pat it in, continue around and around till you have that eye lined up. At this time we'll drop in a pin in the corner, front corner of the eye, and the back corner. That'll hold that eye into place while we position this skin. Okay, next I'll go ahead and sink my tear duct, aligning it, taking small bites, working it into the groove that we established, and then driving in the remaining leather with our lip tucker. Okay, later on, when we do our fine tuning, we'll press the clay together to keep that tear duct completely closed. I'll take a couple temporary pins, place one at the top of the tear duct, one at the bottom of the tear duct. These are just to keep our skin properly aligned so we can adjust the entire mannequin. We'll go ahead and pull our lip down into place, working the top lip first. Roll it into place. Try not to tug it. Starting in the center of the nose, we'll take our lip tucker, pushing it into the slot that we have already cut in this manner. Just work it slowly, gently. It'll all flow into place. Small bites. Okay, I stop at the back corner of the nostril, and then I'll gather my corner and tuck my corner at this time. You don't want to tuck from the center of the nose all the way to the corner, because you have a tendency to drag your lip line out too long, which will create a binding effect in here. So you just tuck from the center to the corner of the nostril, then come from the corner of the mouth, and then work back up this way. There's no binding back here. There's no binding in here. Can rub that down into place. You need to tuck that lip to the edge of the hairline. The hairline will tell you where to stop your tuck. Okay? Now what we do is bring the bottom lip up into place. Establish the center of our bottom lip. On this particular specimen, he had a scar through it. The scar is healed. It's a little bit of a deformity, but we'll work through it. Okay, keep that tucking skin up. Establish your center. and tuck that up into it. Okay, we'll tuck the bottom lip to the corner of the nostril, just like the upper lip. Then we'll start again at the corner of the mouth and tuck forward. Aligning that skin as we go. Taking small bites. If you get too carried away and try and take too much at once, you'll drive your lip tucker tool through your leather. So you want to take small bites, be patient, work through it, and it'll give you this effect. There's no binding in the corner. You have a little bit of clay filler back here. You can smooth any wrinkling that wants to occur. Okay, this side is roughed in. I'll go ahead, take my finger in the ear canal, position my ear butt up next to the burr, close to the burr of the antler, put a pinch in it, a pinch back here, roll that into a forward attitude, and I'll put a couple temporary pins in this ear butt region. One behind and one in front. That just keeps everything lined up. This is the rough-in process that I use. I'll go ahead and do the other side. Then we'll tip the mannequin forward and line out the center seam in the back. Get ready to sew. Now that we've got the cape onto place, both sides are roughed in. Before we draw our hide up in the back all the way, I want to set the brisket on this. This cape was cut extremely short. So before I sew up my back incision, I want to staple this into place. I don't want to get it completely sewn and have it draw it up like this and I can't get it back into place. So I'll take the center of my brisket through the center of the form, put one staple here just to hold it. You can see how this cape was cut. Not too good a shape. Pull this into place. You don't want this armpit hair and hide up on the shoulder like this. That's incorrect. You want to keep it tucked in right to the edge of the shoulder. We'll draw this section back, staple it, then pull this into place. Additionally, what we need to do too, when we sew our center line, is come back through here and stitch this together. I'll just put one staple in this area to hold it. Before I completely staple it and trim it, I'll come back through there and sew that shut. Same procedure on the other side. Line that shoulder. Armpit hair comes right to the edge of the shoulder. Pull that down in place. Place one staple there. We'll completely staple this when we get it sewn up. But for right now, just to hold our brisket and our armpits into place, while we sew. I went ahead and finished stapling that brisket just to lock it into place. I'm going to roll this around to the back side and show that I've gathered the hide together and pinned it into place. Okay, this is prior to sewing. Okay, I got my center strap nailed. This was cut in a Y incision. I've got the Ys both nailed into place. The center strap will lay in. I'll start sewing from the horn burr to those 2 points, cut my string, come over here, sew to those 2 points, then straight down my back line and pull my hide into place. I'll rotate it in front. Okay, before I start sewing, I've got it all pinned into place. I'll go ahead and adjust my ears a little bit further, kind of put somewhat of an attitude to them. Okay, we can change the attitude of our ears after we sew it up. But for right now, I'll just do this. We might have one ear going back and one ear coming forward. We can determine that afterwards though. Okay, now I'll go ahead and place, make sure that this leather is up to the edge of the burr. I'll place a holding nail right there. That'll remain in there through the entire drying process. When this mount is completely dried before you head finish it, you can go ahead and remove your nails. I'll set nails all the way around the entire burr on both sides. Okay, additionally, I'll come back and brad this out completely after it's sewn up and I'm fine-tuning it. But I'll put a couple brads in it in a couple different spots right now to start putting a little bit of shape into it. This is a brad setter, brad and pin setter that Wasco sells. Works real well for this. It'll drive your brad and pin flush into the mannequin. You don't have to sit here with a tack hammer all day and pound those out. So I'll go ahead and do this in a couple of the areas that I want to start to flatten down, and then I'll go ahead and sew it up. Okay, I've sewed this up, sewed the Y incision completely through. Now at this time, I'll go ahead and position the head down, trim off my excess skin, and then we can staple it into place. You can also, after you staple it, you can trim the hair with scissors to give it a nice, uniform, clean appearance. We have an electric stapler. Just continue around. Slightly pulling. Keep going up. All the way to the top. Find your incision line, center a staple over it. That'll hold your incision line together. placing the staples about an inch apart. Come back with a pair of scissors, trim up your loose edges. You can trim your hair with scissors if you want, just to clean it up and make it look a little more professional. I like to do this on all my mounts. Trim that back up just like that. Okay, at this time it's sewn, stapled. We'll spin it around and start our bradding and remodeling, and then set it up to dry overnight. Okay, now after we've stapled it, we want to raise it up, tilt the head back, come back through and pin the armpits above the brisket, the armpits in this region all in through here. With this brad and pin setter, just drive them in. We want to pin this area real well to avoid any drumming. You can go ahead and comb it out and groom it a little bit after you've pinned it, just like that. Okay, we've returned the head in an upright position. Now we're going to come through. I removed all of our temporary pins. We're going to come through, groom it in, adjust it in, and tune it in a little bit better, and then we're going to leave it overnight. Okay, we want to model in our nose a little bit further. Put the hairline, line the hairline up to the edge of the mannequin where it should go. Okay, and what I like to do is set a pin like this with a small head on it. Set a pin in the corner, and with my pin punch, I'll go ahead and drive it all the way in the corner of the nostril, and then up towards the front of the nostril. Okay, that nostril has 90 to 95% of the shape that we want to end up with. What we'll do is leave it for right now and move on up to the eye and tear duct region. I'll come back through, tucking my leather into the tear duct. I'll start my pinch, closing that tear duct. Start to get a little bit of a shape to it. It's got a little bit of a half moon shape. Comes down, and at the bottom, the end of the tear duct, it starts to flip up a little bit. We'll put that shape in there, press it all into place, and then start working back towards the eye. Line this out. Come in with the paintbrush. Tuck the leather up. Keeping that leather between the glass and the clay. Okay, we'll outline our epidermis slightly on the bottom of the eye. Bring it all the way up to the corner of the eyelid. Come through and tuck that a little bit. Okay, same principle. I'll put a pin in the front corner of the eye, and I'll put a pin in the back corner of the eye. We'll insert this right here, and we'll insert this one right here. Okay, I drive them in about 1/4 of an inch away from the skin. If you bury these, you'll leave a blemish on the leather, a big dimple that you have to fill later. So to avoid that, I'll just leave it stick out. Okay, that eye also has about 90% of the shape that we're looking for. Now at this time also, I'll take a little bit of True Tan tanning oil on my brush, and I'll paint down the nose area of the epidermis just to keep this soft and pliable for 2 to 3 days. Okay, out west where I live, we have real low humidity, so you have to oil all these epidermises. And you also, I would recommend, if you're going to leave the head overnight or till, say, a day or two before you do your fine tuning, I would also recommend you bag it. Put some plastic over it so it doesn't dry too quick. Down in the south, in Georgia, we have high humidity, so we won't need to bag it tonight. But I still like to put this oil on the nose area, also along the tear duct, and around the eye itself. This will keep it from drying out too quick, to keep it pliable, so we can continue to put detail in. Clean the eyeball off itself, the glass eye. Okay, now I'll move up to the ear and get that positioned, get it carded, reaching my finger down the canal of the ear. I'll keep it up close to the ear butt, pull it up, define a little bit of my muscle detail today. I can put in my complete muscle detail tomorrow or the third day as it dries. Here's a cast of a mule deer with an ear position back, showing the muscle detail behind, below, and in front. We're going to work off these casts more in depth tomorrow. For right now, we'll just get this positioned. A little bit of the detail started. Come around your leading edge. Feather that. Make sure it's staying feathered. It's all laid in real nice. Our fingers are all down. In between our fingers, the hide is down tight against the ear liner. Looks in pretty good shape. Now on the outside edge of the ear, I'll go ahead and card it. What I use are strips of carding, front and back. I'll go ahead and take paper clips, slide them up to hold the carding in place. You can also use a hand stapler in this. Go ahead and clip it in a couple different spots. That'll hold that leading edge down and uniform and a good shape to that ear. I'll go ahead and run my carding completely around the outside edge of my ear. And I'll leave this on overnight also, and I'll remove my carding the next day, comb it out, groom it real well, and card it again. Okay, it's just something like that. Then in all my low spots, I'll go ahead and run brads underneath my ear butt, underneath the zygomatic arch. Any of the definition that was on the form that I want to highlight, I'll run brads in those low areas. It'll also keep it from drumming, from the skin drumming up. I'll brad above the tear duct, below the eye, underneath the zygomatic arch like I stated, come down underneath the jaw, the throat, the jawbone, above the upper lip, on the muzzle, and throughout the face. So I'll go ahead and brad this, work in the other side, and we'll go ahead and show you what the overall effect is. Roughed in the other side, got it pretty well set to about 90% of what I want it. At this time, I'll come through and groom down my cape. Now, I use some cape set for this. Just brush it on in problem areas, used for grooming to lay down any hair that's wanting to stick up or some unruly cowlicks. Groom it out real good, ear butts, inside of the ears. Just get a nice flow to it. Clean it up. We want our hair to be trained in the position that we want it to dry. As the hair starts to dry, the roots start locking into place. If you let your cape completely dry and then try and train it and groom it out, you can't do it. So you want to get it all groomed up real nice the first night of mounting. Okay, that gives you an idea of the product that I use and the method I use it in. You can just leave this cape set, stay in the hair. You don't have to brush it out or anything else. Okay, everything's been bradded, all my low points. My eyes are all modeled in, my ears. The attitude that I have is I have one ear cocked back and one ear cocked forward. I can change this attitude tomorrow if I don't like it, but I'm pretty set on what it looks like right now, so I'm probably going to stay with it. Okay, that's the first day mounting system, and we'll go ahead and let it set up overnight, come back tomorrow, and spend 10 to 15 minutes running through what we do for our final detail work. We've come back the next morning. We'll go ahead and do some of our fine-tuning work at this time. We'll do this side. I've already fine-tuned this side in. We'll do this at this time. I'll go ahead and remove the carding, the first day carding on the edge of the ears. And I'll come through with a little cape set, brush out the leading edge of my ear, making sure that it's nice and feathered. The hair's trained into the position that I want. Front side and back side. And then I'll recard it at this time. I'll go ahead and get my card strips. Card back side and the front side. Take a paper clip. Clip it onto place in a couple different spots. This will just keep this hair in the position that we want it as this ear completely dries, keeping our outside contour nice and flowing. We'll run this carding around the edge of the ear. In this manner. Like I stated in the first segment, you can staple these also with a hand stapler. If you do a lot of stapling, you'll have to come back and do some fill work. So I like to just paper clip these if necessary. Sometimes you'll get into a spot that you have to staple it. But if you can get the results that you want out of paper clips, I would suggest you use this. If you want to put a little flip on the end of the ear, you can do that also. And then card it. I card it before I work my ear butt detail in, because sometimes as you're carding, you're moving your entire ear. So I'll do this step first, and then I'll come into to my ear butt. Okay, we have a cast of an ear and ear butt region that we can go ahead and model off of. The attitude on this ear is cocked back slightly, just like the attitude that we're putting on our mount. Okay, going off of this cast, we'll put the same muscle detail in that the cast has into our mount. This is the rear of the ear. Shows the wrinkling effect in the rear of the ear. Can scribe that in with a modeling tool. I use my lip tucker for this purpose, just scribing through, making wrinkles. Okay, this particular specimen has long hair. I don't find it a need to go ahead and draw these lines out because the hair is just going to cover it up. If you had an archery kill, a short-haired specimen, you'd want to go ahead and do this, especially for a competition mount. This is a commercial piece, so we won't do that at this time. Okay, the front of the ear, which is this region here on the mount, we'll put this pinch in here that shows the bottom bulb of the ear butt muscle. I'll just put that in with my thumbnail. Just putting a slight indentation to simulate this muscle here. Okay, it's fuller in front. You can achieve that by placing your finger down the ear canal and pulling that out. Pushing your ear base out into the shape of our model. Okay, at this point, I'll come back through and groom it, front side and the rear side, highlighting my detail further, pinching it slightly inward to give that bulb effect, and then pinching it at the base of the ear butt. Okay, by following our reference, we've established an ear butt in a cocked back attitude. Okay, I've already, the first day I mounted this, as I stated before, I've braided these low spots. I'll just come through, pressing them into shape, to make sure any part of the skin isn't starting to lift at this time. If I feel a spot where it feels like the skin is lifting from the form, I'll go ahead and sink an additional brad. Okay, I'll go along my jawbone, on the underside of the throat, feeling this, feeling the buccinator muscle, all the way to the jowl, the rear of the jowl into the neck, etc. Just want to double check this above the tear duct area, behind the nose. Okay, I'm pretty well satisfied that everything is laying into place. I do not need to add any further braids. Everything seems to be laying into place, sucking down tight against the form. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Now I'm going to go ahead and spin this slightly so we can get a close-up of our eye detail. I'll come into this area, into my eye area, taking a little bit of tanning oil, True Tan tanning oil, on my brush. I'll go around the circumference of the eye, slightly moistening the epidermis with the oil. So I can get a nice, smooth blend. I want to take all my sharp lines out. Okay, I've established the epidermis yesterday. I'll go back and highlight it today. I'll draw out the eyelid. Above the eyelash, I'll make a small, delicate crease. Okay, what this does is it keeps the eyelashes sticking out instead of coming down over the glass. You don't want your eyelashes running down over the glass. You want them protruding out. You can maneuver that eyelash detail by working right above the eyelashes in a line. On the to get that crease in there, what I've done is I've taken the end of my paintbrush and cut it with a knife into a point. That way I'm working my eye brush, the bristles with this end. All I have to do is turn it over, and I have my creasing tool on the other end of my brush. Okay, after you've ran those lines in with this end of your brush, I'll turn it over to the bristle side. I'll come back through and smoothen that, taking some of that sharp crease look out of it. With a little bit of oil on your brush, you can blend that, soften all that up, soften those lines up. Okay, then I'll come back through, and in between the glass and the leather, I'll run my bristles, keeping the leather off of the glass. You want a slight void in there, just slight. Okay, that eye is worked in. I'm satisfied with what I've accomplished. I'll drag my brush through into the tear duct, turning my brush around, the pointed end. I'll work into the tear duct, pinching the top down. We pre-modeled with a little bit of clay in this area. This enables us to pinch our tear duct shut. Okay, and then I'll open it up just a tad, put our flip on the end, Turn it around. Use the bristles to soften this area. Taking any sharp lines or sharp edges out. Keep working your brush, your bristles on your brush through this. Keep lining it out. Taking your time until you get the attitude that you want, the look that you want, and the shape that you want. Okay, now I'll drop down to my nose. I'll add a little bit of oil on my brush, come back and brush out the epidermis. I'll brush this line to soften it with oil. Take my modeling tool into the corner, around, keeping the shape. Come back with my brush and work the inside of the nasal area, getting a nice deep nostril. Okay, I'll blend all that. Keep applying oil to your bristles. As I work to the edge, I'll roll it down to take that sharp line off, all the way through the back corner of the nose. Continue this around the upper part, all the way around. Okay, what we have is a nice, dainty, full nose here. Soft, there's no sharp lines. Everything's flowing and natural looking. Okay, what I'd like to do now is rotate this head towards you so you can get a head-on look. And now what we'll do, we've got both sides modeled in. We'll check our symmetry, one side against the other side. We'll start with the lower lip. The bubble reads level. At this time, I will take a small piece of carding and card the epidermis of the lower lip. This card will assure you that your lower lip will dry straight, that it won't, one corner won't pull down, and one corner remain tucked. We'll put 3 pins underneath this lower lip. And then what I like to do after I've pinned this out, come back with my modeling tool or a lip tucker and slightly highlighting this. Okay, I run my lower lip from the edge of the upper lip epidermis on both sides. This is where my lower lip starts and stops. It goes back in here and back in here. I don't run my lower lip any wider than this epidermis on the upper lip. Okay, the symmetry on that has been established. I'll read the symmetry on my nose. The lower nostril first. My bubble's indicating that that's level. I'll read my upper nostril into the bulb area with my bubble level. My bubble's indicating that that is level. And then I'll proceed up into my eye area. Okay, the first point of reference I'll use is this bottom epidermis. Okay, my level has shown me that this side needs to come down just a little to match the symmetry of the other eye. So we'll make that adjustment at this time. Okay, my bubble reads that that has been established, that these are both level. The symmetry of the lower eye is fine. I'll move up to my upper eyelid. My level's indicating this eye needs to open up slightly. I'll raise that eyelid just a little bit and lower this eyelid a little bit. I'll check that. And my bubble indicates that they are symmetrical. Also, the front corner of the pupil, if you take an imaginary line, straight line up, is the high point on your upper eyelid. So I place that in there and then come straight across, front corner, high point. I'll step back, judge the symmetry with my eye, then come in and check those high points with my level. Everything seems to be squaring up nicely. Okay, the last thing I check is the ear butts. I like to place a finger on this side, a finger on this side, eyeball it for symmetry. You don't want one ear butt up higher than the other. So that's telling me that both ear butts are in place. I'll double check with my level. The ear butt, okay, the bottom of the ear butts are lined up fine. Our head is symmetrically balanced at this point. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to groom it additionally. Groom through the neck and into the brisket, and then I will card my brisket. Take a little small amount of cape set, grooming out any of the flaws, cowlicks, anything else that's occurring. Continue down through the brisket, comb out the armpit areas, get a nice flare in there with your cape set, flare this up underneath and then down. Then I'll come through and card this, and I'll leave this carding on till the mount is completely dry. This is a real severe drum area in here. I've bradded it, put bradding in it to hold it down, and I'll do some additional carding. I just sink a couple of these large pins in. Come back all the way to the front. On both sides. You want to keep your carding bent so you don't create any creases on this wet hair. You don't want any card marks after you remove your carding. Okay, now go to the other side. Card this. Pin it down. Come up all the way to the front. Card this area down. Placing a few pins. And like I stated earlier, we'll leave this carding on until the mount is completely dry. The entire head has been finished. Both sides have been carded. Both sides have been detailed. I've checked for additional brad work. This is the way it will look when it's completely mounted. This is was our second day phase. It took a total of 15 to 20 minutes. If you want to go to a third day to double check, I would suggest it. Just spend another maybe 10 minutes on it, checking your eyes, checking the symmetry. One side isn't drying faster than the other, and raising on you, putting things out of symmetry. Go ahead and check that out. You can do some additional grooming on the third day to assure everything's lying into place. With the system I have outlined on this video, if you can develop this system with the steps that I've shown, not only will you achieve speed, you'll achieve accuracy. At Wasco, we've pre-sculpted the eyes. We've paid special attention to detail, the eye set, the nose area, the lip line. With these mannequins that we are offering, you will save a lot of time on eye setting, other areas that always seem to hold you up. I feel very comfortable with these mannequins, and I feel very comfortable with the system that I've outlined for you. I hope it works for you well. Thank you.